Hi everybody, welcome to my Pilates for Life videos. This one is especially for my LLC people. I hope everybody is well. It's not going to be a long one, it's just a bit of an intro here to give you something to do on Wednesday while I work on some more videos. So let's get started. It's probably going to take you maybe 20 minutes or so. So let's get started with mobilizing our head and neck. So standing with feet hip width apart and parallel, try and relax your shoulders and stand up tall, feeling the space between your shoulders and your ears. So let's be painting our imaginary line on the ceiling, drawing our chin forwards and back, trying to keep a nice straight line. So as the chin comes forward, thinking of lengthening up with the back of the neck. Trying to isolate that movement just to your head and neck. And now looking forward, we're going to take the ear towards the shoulder, and the same on the other side. Just gently getting a stretch. Remembering that if you're taking your head to the right, you don't want to feel any pain on the right side. It's good to have a stretch, but we don't want to work into pain. Now looking forward, let's do the circle. Each time you complete a circle with the head and neck, go back the way you came. And we'll go for about 6 to 8 of these. Let's make this the last one. So I'm trying to make most of the exercises that we're going to do today nice and simple, so you don't need much equipment. So let's start now with some roll downs. Everybody knows roll downs, keeping those feet hip width apart and parallel. Start with that, painting the line on the ceiling as you bring the chin forwards, and then allow that movement to travel down your spine. Fully flexing the spine and then allowing your hips to close, softening the knees if you need to. And using your exhale to draw yourself up. Exhaling down, shoulders rolling forwards. Exhaling up. And we'll do 5 of these. Try and stay moving through the center line of the spine. And last one. Excellent. So we'll do some mobilizing of the spine in side flexion now, or lateral flexion. So taking the feet wider than hip width apart. So let's start by floating the right arm up and then lengthening the spine over. Breathe in here and exhale back to center. So remember, the arm moves first and then you're taking your spine over to the side. So you want to keep the hips still. So if you're floating your right arm up, you're keeping your right hip still by pressing the right foot into the floor. If it's the left arm, we're pressing the left foot into the floor. And we'll do one more on each arm. And last one. And back to center. All right, let's step the feet back to hip width apart and parallel. I'm going to come side on for this one. And we're going to do some chest expansion without a band. If you have a band, feel free to use it. So we press back and hold. And release. We'll leave the head turn out, but you can add it in if you want. So we're introducing tension into the arms. Remember, the palms face back. Inhale, press back and hold, shoulders down. Let's do 2 more. And last one. So I want you to remember that movement when we do our spine curls down on the mat. Let's do a little balance work before we come down onto the mat. I'm just going to move my position here. Make sure you can still see me well. So hands on hips. Shift the weight over into your left foot. Peel the right foot off the floor and float that leg up. Shift your weight. Find your balance. And up. So keep going with that. If you want to add a little more challenge to it, you can add some arms. So we're going to float the opposite arm up. Remember, you want to feel that tripod of weight underneath your foot. So behind the big toe, behind the little toe, and in the center of the heel. Keeping that feeling of heaviness in your tailbone. Try not to round the spine or arch the back, so keep a nice neutral spine, lengthening up through the crown of your head. So if anybody wants to do anything a little more challenging, you can add a little bit of a knee opening here, making sure that you keep your hips pointing forwards. So this adds in a new dimension of hip mobilization. Instead of just hip flexion, we're adding in this external rotation. Take your time with these. Find something to focus on to help you with your balance. We're going to do 4 more. Remember, if the hip opening is too much, you can leave it out. Just go back to the simple standing on one leg, knee folds. Last one on each leg. And back and down. Nice work, everybody. So let's come down onto the mat now. Hopefully you've got your mat set up. If you don't have pillows, that's fine. You can use a folded towel. So we'll come into relaxation position. And you really only need 1 pillow for this, or I only need 1. Lie on your back. Let's glue the knees and feet together. And if you have your bowl, you can put it between your knees, or you can put a pillow or a folded up towel. We're going to do some hip rolls. So glue your knees and feet together, arms are wide, with the palms facing the ceiling. And you want the back of your pelvis on the mat and the back of your rib cage. Keeping your feet glued together, let's hip roll over to one side. Remember that top foot comes off the mat. And this is just a nice spinal rotation. Try not to drop the legs. You want to keep squeezing that ball or squeezing your knees together and make the movement come from the pelvis and have it travel up the spine. Keeping the tips of your shoulder blades on the mat. Let's do 1 more to each side. Excellent. All right, let's take that pillow away. Put it to one side. Feet hip width apart in parallel now. Let's put one hand on each hip bone, and we'll do some knee drops. So you can let your elbows rest on the mat, or you can lift them up to make it slightly harder. Keeping the back of your pelvis glued to the mat. Take that right knee out to the side. Hold as you inhale and exhale back. So you've really got to work on your awareness of where the parts of your body are, what's moving and what's not moving. So I'm thinking of the weight in the back of my pelvis and my tailbone, And keeping that nice and heavy and still as I take the knee out to the side. You want to stay in control of the movement of the leg. We're not just allowing gravity to push it down. Take ownership of the movement. If you want to make this more challenging, you can just reach the arms up to the ceiling. Just hold them there. Or you can add a little bit of coordination by taking the opposite arm out to the side. Let's do one more on each leg. And back. Nice work, everybody. Time for some spine curls. So arms down on the mat. We're going to think about our chest expansion that we did in standing. We're going to find those chest expansion arms and press them down into the mat. As we tuck the pelvis, lift the seat off the mat and peel the spine up. Breathe in at the top and take your time, soften the chest and slowly work the spine back to the mat, one vertebrae at a time. Remember, you never want to feel like you're pushing your chest up. Squeeze your seat. Draw your knees a little forwards. So take a good amount of the weight into your feet and a little bit of the weight, the extra weight of the body into the arms. Press the arms into the mat. So we'll do one more nice mobilizing one, working from the bottom of the spine up. Excellent. Now we'll take the feet slightly wider, just a couple of inches. And I want you to spine curl up with the knees parallel. At the top, squeeze the knees together. And spine curl down to the mat. So we go parallel knees to come up, close them, and then work down. We'll do one more in this direction. And now we're going to change the pattern. So we'll keep those knees together to come up, open the legs to come down. Close to come up, open to come down. Last one. And open to come down. And then we'll draw the knees into the chest, take a little stretch there. Little rock from side to side if that feels good. Excellent. All right, feet back down on the mat. We're going to do some knee folds and toe taps now. So we want to be heavy in the back of the pelvis. Allow the natural curves of the spine, so I have a little space between my low back and the mat. And I'm going to knee fold the right leg and then place it back down. Knee fold the left leg, place it back down. So let's do a few more of these. Your focus is on keeping your pelvis completely still and neutral. No changes in the low back. And remember your knee fold, is coming from the hip joint. So try and keep the shape of your leg the same, making the movement come from the hip joint. My heels are right on the end of my mat, which is quite helpful, so I can feel when I land back down if my foot has changed position. All right, now let's bring one one leg up, followed by the other. And we'll do some toe taps. So we're inhaling to tap, exhaling to return. Anybody who wants more challenge can bring the arms up. Either just hold them there or reaching the opposite arm back. This is a great exercise for your low abdominals. Almost there. We'll just do a couple more. And last one. Let's bring those feet down to the mat. Good stuff. All right, so let's come into some side lying now. Everybody loves oyster, so we'll do some oyster. And I'm going to use my 2 pillows for this. Again, you can use your folded up towel. Come into your oyster position with the bottom arm long, the pillows on top. You've got your knees bent and your heels are in line with the back of your body, and we're going to place the hand on the hip. Make sure you're lifting the waist away from the mat and start to open and close your top knee. So you want your feet nice and heavy. Working from your seat, maintaining that good neutral posture in the spine. So you can continue with your feet down if you want, or you can lift your feet up to belly button height. Cover them nice and still as you continue to open and close. We'll do a few more of these. These are great for your hip mobility and also for strengthening those muscles around the hip. Really press up into your full range of movement. See how far you can go without tipping the hips, without moving the hips. Last 2. And one more. Lower the knees, lower the feet to the mat. So it's just a short version today, so we'll move on to some prone work and then I'll do the other side. So coming onto your tummy, we're going to do some cobra. So lying face down, pop your forearms along the side of your mat and widen your legs. Your heels are pointing in. Rest your forehead down. Press your pubic bone down into the mat and pull your belly button up. And on the exhale, we roll the marble. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Just coming up to Cobra Prep so your chest is lifted. And then exhale down. Roll your marble. Remember, try not to do too much with the head and the neck. You want to feel a real lengthening through the crown of the head as the spine comes up. This time coming up higher if you would like, as long as it feels good. Straightening the arms and allowing the hips to open. And then bringing those elbows down very quickly and lengthening the spine to the mat. And down. Let's do 2 more. And all the way down. Nice work. Okay, so let's do the side line on the other side. So I'm just going to change ends. I'll be lying on my left side now. I'm going to make sure I don't squash my fancy microphone receiver. Okay. So I have a little trouble on my left side because of the frozen shoulder, so I have to adapt a little bit. All right. So knees bent, feet in line with the back of the body, hand on the hip, and remember, actively lifting your waist so that we get the spine into neutral. And let's open and close the top knee. Trying to get that feeling of heaviness in the feet. And then if you want to go for something more challenging, you can hover both feet up to belly button height, and we'll do a few more here. If it's too much, you can just keep your feet down on the mat. Focus on keeping your hips nice and still and working that top knee into your full range of motion. So I'm really drawing that knee up, using the outer hip. Tummy in to hold the pelvis still. Last one. And then bring it all the way down. Nice work. Okay, let's come into tabletop. Hopefully this is a good angle for tabletop. I think it is. So we're going to go hands under shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and I like to use the front end of my mat just to support my wrists. So we're going to try and keep a neutral spine. Let's pull those shoulders back away from the ears, pull the tummy in, and we'll slide the right leg out and then slide it back in. So we're going to build on this movement. We're going to layer up. And that's going to give you options. So if this is the best option for you, you stay here with the foot down on the floor. If not, you can join me in lifting the straight leg, lowering it, and then drawing that leg back in. Remembering the golden rule here, the pelvis and the spine stay still. That's a really hard thing to do in tabletop. So actively pulling the tummy up, actively squeezing the seat, keeping those arms long and straight. And if you really want to go for more challenge, then you can start lifting the opposite arm as you lift the leg. So you want to feel that lengthening from fingertips to toes. And that's going to challenge your balance even more. Almost there, last 4. Stretch long. Awesome. So while we're here, let's do cat. So just check in, make sure your knees are hip width apart, and round your spine from the tailbone all the way through to the crown of the head. Move your seat back towards your heels for a stretch in the low back. And then hinge forwards and lengthen back into neutral. Again, round for the tailbone. Hinge back. Hinge forwards. And lengthen. We'll do 2 more. Try and get a nice even rounding. Keep your spine rounded as you hinge back. Okay, we're going to transition to standing, so kneel up in the center of your mat. Tuck your toes under behind you, bring one leg forwards. Press off the back toes to rise up and step together. Let's find a space on the floor and off the mat. Let's see, we'll have the feet wider than hip width apart, and we're just going to finish with standing extension. Send your feet down into the floor, and on the inhale, look up to the ceiling as you lift your chin and your chest, opening up the front of the body. Inhale, lift, and lengthen. Last 2. And last one. there we are, we're all done. Thank you for joining me. I hope everyone is well, and feel free to email me if you have any questions or comments. It's sidereach@gmail.com.